Welcome. By the end of the video, you are going to configure a conversational AI text bot for real estate investor clients because this is my own qualification bot that I use in my real estate investment company. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because at the time of recording, CloseBot is mid-transition from version 1, aka classic, to version 2, aka purely CloseBot. Now, this entire transition is monumental. It's basically a new product, but we'll get into that in a second. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Justin, and I like to create videos just like this, showing you how I solve problems in my business, in businesses of my clients, and those in my community. Now, if you're new here, I run a free community called Automation Station. Everything I cover in this video will be given away here in the Automation Station community. As you can see, there's over 1.9K members at the time of this recording. How you can find the resources for this video, for example, I'm going to give away this bot template, so you can just click the link and import it. You come over here to video announcements, and then you just search for the title of this video or potentially the upload date. You can come over here, pop it open, and if there are any resources, they will be provided to you either in links or in a file. So enough of that. Let's go ahead and move on. I want to cover a few key things. I'm going to do a few of these videos, but I'm going to cover this on this first video just to highlight some changes inside of CloseBot, but also to give you some background on what I use CloseBot for. So first and foremost, if you don't know what CloseBot is, let's see if we can go to the homepage here, closebot.ai. CloseBot is a conversational text-based provider. They don't do voice at the moment, but they can qualify and book leads, as you can see here on their website. They're very good. They actually came out before GoHighLevel had their conversational AI. If you're choosing between GoHighLevel and CloseBot, I really have no preference for you. I think you should just test both. They have a free tier, pretty generous free tier, and CloseBot also has, I think, their summer of AI going on right now. So try both and see what you like. I really like the drag and drop builder, and then I've also just built a business around CloseBot, so I continue to use it. I have to migrate bots from V1 to V2 because I don't want to pay for 2 accounts. So enough of that. Now, let's cover some important notes here. So this is a complete overhaul, as I mentioned. It's basically a brand new product. Bryce and Laura, the team over at CloseBot, the founders, they have completely developed a new product. You know, CloseBot V1 was a little bit buggy. The interface was just kind of put together by Bryce and maybe a few other people, but now they've completely overhauled it and changed it to sort of a canvas style of drag and drop builder, similar to that of N8N, which we all know and love, or Make.com, which we all know and love, and even GoHighLevel Workflows. It has some similarities as well. Now, as I mentioned, I have to migrate my clients over to V2 with as little interruption as possible. I'm starting with me as a client. This is my company that I'm migrating over. And I say little interruptions as possible. It's kind of false because what I'm actually doing is deleting everything. So CloseBot actually migrated me from V1 to V2 and all the bots migrated over. So I could just click publish, but I don't like that because if anything goes wrong, I won't understand what's actually happening and the nuance in between these new bot builds. And so I want to build it from scratch. So there will be a little bit of downtime, especially as I record this. Some I just won't record because there's like personal information that I don't want to give out, but ones I can, I'll release here on this channel. Now, rebuilding from scratch is counterintuitive. Yep, I'm doing it so I can learn. I want to learn the ins and outs of the system so that I can be more efficient in my builds and so I can teach you how to be more efficient as well. Let's see. Bot exports I already mentioned will be shared in the Automation Station community. So version 1 versus version 2. This is by no means an exhaustive list of changes, but these are just changes that I find most notable in my business operations. And one is the drag and drop builder that I mentioned earlier, the canvas style drag and drop builder, which is awesome. Also has autosave functionality, which is pretty cool. We have expanded functionalities. We're going to go over some custom actions that are in there that weren't available inside of version 1, and that's going to enable us to do more things inside of CloseBot instead of relying on GoHighLevel workflows and just sort of hacking things together to make them work. We also have the addition of webhooks. I'm excited for webhooks. We're not going to use webhooks in this video just yet, although we probably can because they have some real estate specific functionality, but I'm not going to change the game here. But webhooks are awesome, you know, for checking service areas, pulling information from external databases or connecting to other CRMs. Pretty awesome stuff. They also added support for HubSpot. So I didn't write that down here, but that's a big deal as well. They have switch nodes. Switch nodes are essentially, you can kind of change, before we would change bots, right? So we would have maybe 2-3 different bots. We would ask a question. Depending on how they answered that question, we would use a workflow inside of GoHighLevel to switch the bot ID and change bots. It was just a big pain. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But now they released what are called switch nodes. So now we can define certain cases where they would go down a different route in the canvas, and we may see a little bit of that here. And then we can ask different questions, have a different set of objectives depending on how they answer. And the best part about it is we can use AI to evaluate their responses and then determine their intent, which is powerful. Then we have brand branching. We can like if statements kind of like inside of GoHighLevel workflows, all available inside of the V2 builder, which is great. And then we have more custom scenarios. Before we were limited to one custom scenario. And what's a custom scenario? Let's say, here's an example for a home service company. I have home service companies who we generate leads for, we qualify leads, we book leads, but every once in a while we have people who reach out and say they're looking for employment. Well, if they're looking for employment, we have no interest in trying to qualify them as a lead. So that's a custom scenario that we built out. And so if the AI detects that they're looking for employment, then we will just turn the AI off. So that's a custom scenario. In version 1, Classic, we were only limited to one of those. Now we can add multiple custom scenarios, which is very powerful as well. And then there is a conversation node, and we're not going to use that in this video, but that is a powerful scenario or a powerful node for people who, let's say like a med spa that has a lot of returning clientele. We can now have an initial qualification bot, and then we can leave the bot on. Before we would turn the bot off, or I would turn the bot off so the bot wouldn't respond. But now we can like leave the bot on and just have general conversations to answer general questions. And we can pair that up with a new custom scenario saying if they want to reschedule, a visit, then go down this route and schedule them. So really powerful stuff. That's just conceptual right now. I'm not going to cover that in this video. We're going to focus on my real estate qualification bot. So current struggles I'm having with CloseBot V2, and hopefully the team watches this. This is not a knock on them. This is a brand new product. It's actually pre-release. So some of these struggles are going to get solved by the time June 9th, I think is the official release date. But I'm going to cover them. I'm going to tell you what my issues are. And right now, my current struggles is understanding the relationship between personas, job flows, providers, and sources. So that's a lot. We're going to go over that, and I'm going to show you what they are. But in the past, we had a pretty simple drag and drop builder. It was just like a bot. Let's see if I can pull one up here. We just had a bot. It had objectives. It had a main prompt and maybe some, knowledge base, and that was it. But now there's sort of more components that we have to account for. And so I'm still trying to wrap my head around the relationship between them all, and then also which settings are available inside of which menus. And I also think that CloseBot has some room for improvement there, and I'll highlight some of those in this video, but just the amount of clicks and places you got to go to make a bot actually do what it needs to do, I think it'll get better over time. Now, another struggle I'm having is migrating legacy workflow automations to version 2 native functionality. And what do I mean by that? As I mentioned earlier, we had to rely on GoHighLevel workflows in the past. We were like evaluating custom fields in order to do stuff. Like if somebody was interested, they selected yes, then we would continue. If not, we would turn off the bot. We needed like a GoHighLevel workflow to help us with that. We no longer need that. So in my current accounts and my current builds, I have a lot of workflow dependent actions that happen. Well, now some of that stuff can just be migrated into CloseBot, and we no longer need those workflows. So I have to identify those workflows, I have to turn off those workflows or modify those workflows maybe, and build that functionality into my CloseBot. So we're going to go over some of that today. That I think there are some opportunities to see that here in this build. Now, build efficiency. I am inefficient right now. I am still, like I said, I'm understanding the relationship between personas, job flows, providers, and sources. And so I'm going to hop around a bit. I'm trying to get better. The reason why I'm doing this and getting the reps in and choosing to build from scratch is because I want to get better at building this and get more efficient, and then share that framework and process with you. What else? I'm struggling with where GoHighLevel variables can be used and where they cannot be used. So in the past, I relied heavily on custom values inside of a sub account, and I would use those custom values inside of CloseBot in order to fill in information. It made it easy for me to make changes because I just go into sub account, change the custom value, and it automatically updated the prompt. But now it seems that those custom values are not available. I'm not really sure. And so I think they've been replaced with what they call source values or source variables. CloseBot calls it that. And so I'm still getting used to that. And again, I think all this will get better and more clear with time. And then, I just don't know if custom values are gone. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and hop into the tutorial. All right, so I'm here inside of my sub account. This is an active sub account. So let's see if I can pull it. Yeah, here's the website. So this is a landing page I have for flipping, wholesaling. I was generating leads, driving a ton of traffic to this website to try to find off-market properties like a lot of real estate investors do. So if you're a real estate investor, or maybe if you work with real estate investors, this is going to be relevant to you. Now, I no longer drive traffic to this site. I've been focused on building my agency, building my YouTube channel, building my community, but I leave this site up and I leave the bot attached because every once in a while I have this brand and another brand that's very similar. I get a lead that just comes in organically and I'm not paying attention to it. So last month at like 11:53 p.m., a new lead came in. The bot was attached to it. It qualified the lead. It booked them on my calendar for a cash offer call. And then 2 weeks later, the same thing happened in the middle of the day. And both of those leads are actually, we have offers out on both of those leads. We haven't gotten any on the contract yet, but there's huge potential in that stuff. So I'm not going to turn it off. And I want to keep the bot active on those. So this is the landing page that's out there. This is a form that somebody would fill out. And after this, we need to ask some qualifying questions, like I think it's like motivation, selling timeline, and then try to book them on the appointment. I think also people find me on this profile on Google. They might call, they might text, they might find the page on Facebook. And so I want to make sure all of that works. So let's go over, and I'm going to look at some of the legacy stuff. So I'm here in automations inside of this hub account. This is a really old bot. This is the old way that CloseBot used to do business with all these workflows. They've since consolidated it in Classic to one workflow. And now in version 2, you don't need any workflows to make it happen. Now, that's not necessarily going to be the case for us. I'm going to have some workflows that add functionality to my bot, but all of these need to be drafted because this is all version 1 stuff. So I'm just going to come in here and draft all of these workflows, and I'm going to go ahead and annotate some that I might be interested in continuing. And so let's see here. Let's draft all of these. All right, at this point, every workflow for CloseBot version 1 Classic's core functionality should be disabled. This bot should be neutered. If I put in a new lead here, if I submit a new lead, it shouldn't respond, or it'll get the initial message, but the bot shouldn't engage. Okay, I'm confident in that. I'm not going to test it and waste time. Now, there's another thing that happens here. So I have another tool here where I do goal checking, and so I'm going to draft this for now because this goal checking workflow relied on me evaluating custom fields in order to list something as qualified or not. So if I come in here, you see that this is triggered by motivation and timeline. If the goal is accomplished, which is a custom field inside of the contact, contained motivation and timeline, we'd go down, make sure we have both motivation and timeline, and then we have different states that we were evaluating, and then we determine if they were qualified or not and send a notification to the team. This was before they booked. So remember, you can have a qualified lead that didn't book. And so that's what this was for. And I think we're going to simplify and modify this so that we can take some of this and actually move it to CloseBot. So this is one that I'm going to target. Let me make sure there's no other ones. So I think we have some follow-up stuff here. No answer follow-up. So yeah, this one we might actually be able to, let's see, what is this triggered by? Contact tag, no answer. Okay. I'm actually going to add, so this is if somebody doesn't answer, we have a follow-up sequence. And what I'm going to do is actually, I need to add functionality to remove a contact from this workflow if they respond. And so I'm going to try to build that into the CloseBot v2 workflow. And what else? What else? That's it. That's it for now. I'm just going to draft this so I know what I'm working with. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. So now we are in version 1. Let me review the functionality of this before. So we have a main prompt here. A lot of this stuff is just going to transfer over minus our custom values. Let's see if I could zoom in here a little bit so you can see. Remember, our custom values are not necessarily, they're not working the way I thought they would. And then also, it looks like, yeah, some custom values don't work, so we're going to have to modify some of this. Objectives, probably the most important part here. We're going to have to build this out inside of our canvas. We have address, email, phone number, timeline, motivation, and attempts. Okay, cool. If I come here to integrations, you see that we're currently integrated inside of GoHighLevel. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove this integration, but instead of doing it from here, I'm going to see if I can actually come into CloseBot. Because I migrated and CloseBot moved everything over, these integrations are now known as sources. So if I come in here into sources and I search for flipping home buyers, you see we have a source and with a job flow connected. I'm just going to uninstall this source and it should pop open pop me into the app marketplace. So let me just go ahead and log in here. All right, took a second to log in to GoHighLevel. So now it should just pop into the sub accounts at Marketplace so I can delete the sources. All right, so here is the CloseBot app. So it shows that it's not installed, which is interesting. Let me come over here and just make sure there's no installed apps. And there is an installed app. Okay, so this is an issue that I've had. So right now, you see that this distribution type is agency and subaccount. If I click uninstall here, I actually can't uninstall it because it says that it's managed at the agency level. And if I go to my agency level, this bot, this app is not installed. So I've reached out to CloseBot about this. I've also reached out to GoHighLevel. If you reach out to GoHighLevel support, they will be able to manually remove this. However, I've talked to Bryce and the team, and they said that this no longer plays a part. So they've handled it on their end. Before, the symptoms I was getting is if I had, because we're about to install another app, and so if I had this app installed and the new and the new CloseBot app installed, the bot would respond twice. It would wig out or do a bunch of weird stuff. Well, I think CloseBot has since handled that on their end, and so we're going to test that here. But what I am going to do is come in to my classic account, and I'm just going to remove that integration there. That shouldn't delete the app. I don't think it's going to delete the app, but I am going to remove that integration so that this V1 bot is no longer active. I'm going to give that a second to stop spinning, and there you go. Now, I'm going to come in here, and first thing I'm going to do is go to agents, and I'm going to create a persona. A persona is sort of the bot personality, as I understand it. One of the frustrations I have with personas is I typically have very standard personas that just have different names. And so I wish I could use a variable here in the persona name, and maybe I can. I'm not sure yet, but it doesn't look like it's, it's going to fill. So I'm going to just go ahead and create the persona, and I'm going to create a persona for each bot right now. And hopefully CloseBot sees this feedback and either just tells me I'm wrong and I can fix it, or maybe they make an update. So if I come here to the main prompt, the persona is probably is pretty much just this how to respond section and the name and a few other pieces of information. So you see here, we have the name of Alex. So if I come to persona name, I'm going to say Alex. And then in the description, this is just internal. I'm going to say flipping home buyer bot. I can upload an avatar if I wanted to, but I'm going to skip that for now. I don't have any response delays, frequency, AI typos, and breaking up larger messages. I don't have any of that configured, but I do have how to respond instructions. So if I come back here to my main prompt and I copy this, all this is going to be provided in the link. So whenever you import this into your CloseBot V2, it should just show up. So let me see if I can extend this a little bit. So again, I don't know if these variables even work in here. CloseBot, please let me know if they do. It's kind of hard to tell. So instead of contact name, I'm going to use the @lead name decorator or variable. I think this works inside of CloseBot. So again, I'm new to this. So let's see. Don't tell @lead name that you are a bot. If contact name asks you, all right, let's change that to lead name. These are just guidelines for how the bot should respond. Maybe guardrails, some people would call them. All right, you should not sound like an assistant. This means not using contact name in all your responses. All right, we gave an example here. This is an old bot, so I have some legacy stuff that I wouldn't necessarily do here, but that's fine. We're going to keep it as it is. We're going to try to transition as one-to-one as possible. So you see here for bot voice, we have friendly and confident. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in friendly and confident, and then click next. And then our providers. So providers are our API keys. So one of the nice things about CloseBot V2 is you can now rebill your clients for AI usage. And so before, you might have asked your client to get an AI key from OpenAI, from Anthropic, or maybe you added your own and then you rebuild them manually somehow, or you didn't rebuild them at all. Now we can actually just I have two main keys. I used to have hundreds of keys. Now I have two main keys. So I'm just going to go ahead and select my API key for CloseBot and my for OpenAI and my API key for Anthropic. If you needed a new provider, you can come over here, drop down. You see they support Gemini, DeepSeek, and Grok. You just need to get your API key from there. I'm not going to cover that in this video. There's tons of resources out there showing you how you can get your API key. Now, this is the priority in which API provider that they use. I think this one we have set to CloseBot. Yep. So I'm sorry, I keep saying CloseBot. We use OpenAI first and then Anthropic next. You can make that change if you want to or modify this. Anthropic tends to be more conversational. So people doing stuff over like Messenger or WhatsApp might want to use Anthropic, but I just use OpenAI. It seems to get straight to the point and do its thing. This bot and another bot that I have for another brand that I'm not mentioning here is really good at booking appointments, and it's really good at asking the qualifying questions. So it's had a lot of success. I don't want to change it. So we're going to go next, and we can go ahead and create this persona. So now that this persona is created, it's not assigned to anything just yet, but next thing we need to do is create a job flow. And a job flow is sort of this whole like objective map, a combination of this main prompt and this objective map. And a job flow plus a persona equals a bot, from what I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong, CloseBot. But right now we have a persona that's not a bot. We need a job flow to connect to it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a new job flow, and I'm going to say flipping home buyers V2. And then there's groups, okay? So these are like folders. I don't have any groups right now, so I'm going to keep this just like it is. And then it asks us what kind of source this is. And so you see we have high level sub account, lead connector sub account, which is just the gray label for high level. We have HubSpot and webhook. I'm going to go ahead and select high level. I'm going to just search for flipping home buyers. Okay. And then filter by tags. Okay, so we have that connected. I feel like this is going to cause issues, but we're going to do it live because I wanted to remove that source and then re-add that source because I don't really even think that the app is installed correctly, but we'll see. So here we have filter by tags. Okay, so we have an AI off tag here. Now, something interesting that I've realized inside of my transitions is that like the AI off tag sometimes comes in with no space in between AI and off, and that's just a major difference. And so sometimes the bot doesn't actually turn off. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's see if I can I add a tag here? I can't. Okay. All right. I'm going to leave this here for now, and hopefully it works as we expect. But if not, we might have to go ahead and add a tag inside of our sub account that's AI off with no spaces, and then add that to the list of tags to pay attention to. And if those tags are added, do not respond. Channels here, we're going to respond to all channels, but if I wanted to limit channels, like a lot of times I don't respond to IG messages because a lot of people are sending reactions and doing personal things on IG. And so just know if no channel is selected, all channels are selected. Kind of counterintuitive. But if you actually start selecting things like SMS, you can actually be particular and deliberate about which channels they respond on. And so I can technically do this. Yep, we don't want IG. WhatsApp. We don't really use WhatsApp, but I can technically do this. But what I'm going to do is just exit all that and respond on all channels because I don't even have an IG. I think I don't. I do have an IG for this, and I don't do any personal stuff on that IG. So if somebody messages me on that IG, I want the bot to respond. So we'll just do that. Click next, and then we're going to start from scratch. They have templates from a prompt from Marketplace. It looks like these two aren't quite working yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and start from scratch and deploy. All right. First things first, we're going to come over here and we're going to start building out our objectives. Actually, we're not. We're going to build out our main prompt first. So I'm coming over here to the main prompt. If I come here to settings, you see we need to select a persona. So I'm going to go ahead and select my Alex persona, and then I'm going to go over here to job information. And you see why this conversation is happening. I'm just going to come over here, copy this, and make some modifications. Now, you notice here, if I use a variable in here, I just put this open squiggly bracket and it popped up this little menu. If I wanted to do it manually, I can click this plus icon. And if I select a variable here, it shows up like this tells me it's working, right? Like that's my indicator that it's working. Could be wrong. I'm not sure. Look at the documentation, ask the support team. But on this side, there is no like easy fill indicator, and I have no clue if these custom values are actually working. And so I'm just going to remove these custom values because I'm having to create a job flow and a persona for each one of my bots. I can just say who this person is here instead of using a custom value. I'll solve that problem later on. If I wanted to create a bot that worked with multiple people, I'll try to solve that. But for now, we're going to keep this here. So you're a confident investor named Alex at location name. So I've tested this. If I just do location name and I ask the bot, where do you work? It doesn't know. It's kind of frustrating. But if I put the actual name here, it does work. So something that I've learned, maybe it'll change before June 9th, who knows, which is the best cash home buying company. This company is well trusted in the community. So at lead name, doesn't have to worry about a thing. The lead filled out a form either on our website. So I'm just going to put our website. We don't even need to put the website in there. That's just fluff. Okay, cool. So this is by no means the most optimal prompt that's out there. Okay, this is just what I had. This is just what was working, and I'm pasting it in here because I just need to get it to work. All right, now I'm going to come over here to important business information. It's pretty brief, and I think less is more here whenever we're dealing with whenever we're dealing with bots and AI. So this company buys houses and can close on rapid timelines when needed and buy as is. You remodel homes. Okay, this is used to telling the bot you remodel homes after purchase. So contact name doesn't have to make any repairs. Let's see if I can get that to actually fill in. So if I go here, contact, full name, I guess. Sure, doesn't have to make any repairs. And so location name, like it's not auto-filling in here, but I know location name is a thing. So if I come over here to location name, there you go. Location name is a local company that was built by location owner first and last. I'm just going to go ahead and put my name in there, Justin Melendez, because I don't see I guess here, location first name and last name. That might work. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just going to put my first name and last name in there. Conversational rescheduling, we don't want to handle that, so we're just going to move on. And if I had any variables here, so like I guess I can replace my custom values with this. Like if I had like business information here, I can go ahead and add a property, and then later on I'd be able to fill that in. I'm going to leave that in here just for now so I could show you where that would be filled in, because I can essentially take this business information. Let me go ahead and save and close this, pop this open. And then maybe inside of here, you see now we have source variables and that business information is in there, and that's filled out in another location. I'm still not really clear where I would use this versus custom values, but I'm sure it'll come in handy and become more clear as time goes on. But I'm just going to go ahead and save and close this. Now, we need to start building out our objectives. And so let's come over here and click on our objectives. You see, we're starting here. We're asking for the address, email, and phone number. Now, the reason I had these stacked up all in one is because we already had their address, email, and phone number. So if it was already filled out, I didn't need it. But now I'm going to do things a little bit differently, because CloseBot now has these sort of objective stacking and sub-objective mechanisms. So the first thing I'm going to do is drag and drop an objective here, and I'm going to go ahead and ask for the user's full name, and let's see, I just like using this as a template and copying it. So I actually didn't even ask for the name here, which is crazy. But this thing's working. So I'm just going to copy this and paste this. And let's make sure skip if not blank. Perfect. So we want their name. Let's go ahead and add. I just clicked the plus icon here and it added a sub objective. I'm going to say email. I wish these were standard fields like they had in Classic, where they would just fill out the information for like standard contact fields, but it doesn't seem like it automatically does that for us. And so I'm just using my version 1 or Classic to copy over my descriptions here. So here's my short description, and in the advanced settings, it looks like by standard there's an extra prompt, which I don't typically include, but I'm just going to try to keep it exactly as it is inside of version 1. I'll add one more sub objective, and we're going to call that phone number. So remember, if we already have this information, the bot's not going to ask it. But if it doesn't have it, it'll ask it. And when you stack them up like this, the bot will sort of ask it either simultaneously, give it all to me at once, or it'll step through those objectives as it sees fit. So we'll name this phone. And again, we'll come back here and look at the description for phone. We'll copy this. It says get at lead name's phone number, and it says looking for a valid phone number. Cool. I didn't make those up. That came from CloseBot. So now you see we have an objective filled out with 2 sub-objectives. We have full name, email, and phone number. These will get skipped again if they do not need to be asked. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect these 2. Now the next thing I'm going to ask, I'm going to create another objective, and I'm going to name that address, and I'm going to leave that all on its own because I want to do something different. So if I come in here and I just search for address, you see we have full address, street address, city, and county. I noticed if I ask for full address, the prompt is so strict that it wants them to provide like their street address, their city, their state, and their zip code, and like if it doesn't have it all, it's going to keep asking, which is pretty annoying. And so I'm going to break this down a little bit. I really just care for their street address and state. I'm just going to say street address and state, because if I have that information, I feel like it'd be fine. Yeah, I feel like it'd be fine. All right, let's see what we have here. So address, get lead name's address. And I wonder if I could just add an extra prompt here, because really the city and state are not super important to me. So if I add that in the extra prompt, I wonder if it would ask for the city and state. And if they don't provide it, it won't give them too much grief. That's kind of the effect I want. Street address is enough for me, especially because I know I'm only running this in Georgia and in North Carolina. So I'm going to leave it at that right now, as I don't really want much more. So next thing I'm going to do is ask for motivation. And so if I come over here, motivation, that's a tough one. So we're going to add some limitations here because that's a sensitive topic sometimes for people. If you ask like, why are you selling your car or why are you selling your house? Some people don't like that. So let's go ahead and fill out motivation. Now, motivation is a custom field that I created inside of the sub account. So if I come over here to settings and then come down to custom fields, you'll see that in here, if I come to fields and search for motivation, I created this a long time ago, and it's just a contact field, single line text that is motivation. Okay, so if you're doing this from scratch, you won't actually have this motivation custom field. You'll just have to come here, create it, add a single line, next, and then type in motivation, and then go ahead and save it. Now, I already have it in there, so I'm not going to create that. So here we have motivation. Let's go ahead and title this motivation. CloseBot, you can autofill that, please. That would be awesome. I know you guys have a ton of stuff to work on. So on one of Bryce's videos, he mentioned saying the word get a lot, like tell the AI exactly what you want. So I'm just going to add get the reason for at lead name wanting to sell the property. And then in the additional prompt, we have you're interested in uncovering specific reasons why they're looking to get rid of their house, not being too pushy, but genuinely curious about their situation. This is cool. I made that up. I'm proud of that. All right, so paste that. And then max attempts here, I'm just going to put the max attempts here to 2. Remember, this is a sensitive topic. If we already have it, we're not going to ask it. But we're going to try twice. If it moves on, then cool. We're good to go. All right, now, let's see. I just thought about something. All right, cool. We're going to go ahead and move on to booking. So once we have their booking, oh no, timeline, we skipped timeline. Why don't you tell me that? Approximate timeline for sale. So let's go ahead and remove this. So if I click on this line and delete it because timeline came first, it's less of a personal question. We're going to go ahead and insert timeline here. So if I search here for timeline, or I think it's selling timeline. What did I name it? Selling timeline. The title is selling timeline. If I come in here and copy my short description and paste it, approximate timeline for sale, get at lead names, approximate timeline for sale. And then I'm just going to copy this, accept any timeline that's being satisfactory. If lead name doesn't have a strong motivation, anticipate that they likely won't be interested in selling quick. Don't use the word timeline every time. Sure, whatever. This was working. So sometimes I don't know why I come up with certain things. Sensitivity was 50 and I didn't have any max attempts. Cool. Now we are save. We have some auto save happening right here. And you see right here, you see this check mark means it's saved. So we're good to go. I don't have to keep clicking save, but I do have to click save on the objectives in order for the objectives to complete. All right. So now we have contact information, street address, selling timeline, and motivation. Okay. I'm going to get fancy here. I think I'm going to get fancy here. Yeah, let's see. I'm going to see if I can use a branch. And I'm going to use a branch to evaluate true or false, okay? And so I'm going to come over here and say qualified lead. I'm going to say use AI at lead name provided a timeline and a motivation to sell their property. Do I want to do that? I actually only really care if they provided a timeline. I don't really care if they provided a motivation just yet. We're going to leave it like this, okay? So when we click use AI to respond, what should happen is that this node should determine if the lead using AI, if the lead provided a valid timeline and a motivation to sell their property. Now notice I didn't fill in anything. Like I can not use AI to respond, and then I can sort of compare values. Like I can actually come in here and look at the node and look at, let's say, like motivation result, and then evaluate that. Like, hey, it contains this, it equals this, or whatever, and determine like pretty definitively whether they get, like, say it was like a number or an age, if they're over 18 or whatever, like you can do that. But I'm just going to use AI to power this response because I'm going to have AI and test if AI can actually look at what happened in the conversation, determine if they provided a timeline and a motivation for selling their property. Now, I didn't really have this in this workflow or in this bot before, but I did evaluate this in a sense using my goal checking workflow that I mentioned earlier, right? Because we looked if they provided motivation and timeline. It's pretty static evaluation, but now we're going to use AI to do that, okay? So let's go ahead and save that. We'll see how that works. And then if they did, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a tag named qualified. And that tag is going to be used as a trigger inside of GoHighLevel to send a notification out. And so let's go ahead and do this. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to notify a customer, which is me in this case, hey, you had a new lead. They provided this information. They're engaging with the bot and they're actually qualified. So I'm going to notify you have a new qualified lead, and then I'm going to notify you again after you book the appointment. But right now, I just want to notify you that you have a qualified lead. So if I scroll down here, there's an action called modify tags, which is new. I'm going to name this qualified, and the tag to be added is qualified. Now I noticed GoHighLevel doesn't like auto-populate your tags here, but what's cool is also if the tag doesn't exist, it'll automatically create it. So I'm just going to go ahead and click save, and we're going to add the qualified tag. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue to build this out a little bit more because I'm still going to move to the booking objective regardless, because maybe they don't want to provide me with the selling timeline and they don't want to provide me with the motivation, but I still want them to book on the calendar. Maybe they want to talk to a human, or they want to talk to somebody on the phone to tell them that stuff. Or maybe they don't want to tell it at all and they still want to sell their house. So we're still going to book them. So next thing I'm going to do over here is come over here and add the GHL booking objective, and we'll call this cash offer call. Let's come over here, see what descriptions I did. Book a 15-minute call with a qualified offer specialist for lead name. So that's my short description. And my calendar name, let's come over here to my calendars. And my calendar name is offer call. This is my first time doing this, excuse me. So hopefully I'm doing it all right. And then the calendar ID is this right here. So I'm going to copy this. All right, advanced settings, anything else? Make sure, see if I have an extra prompt in here. Attempt booking for earliest available date and time. Sweet. I don't even think that's necessary, but we'll do that. Max attempts, nothing. Nope. All right, we're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And what's cool, and the reason I think they let you actually name these calendars is because you can add multiple of these calendars. So if you have let's say a med spa who has multiple services, you can now use a combination of switch nodes or branch nodes and a bunch of different calendars to book on different service calendars, which is really nice. And before you would have to use a custom field, fill out the calendar ID, make sure you get it right, and then it's just a mess, right? So this makes it a whole lot easier. So now we have our workflow here. So if somebody is qualified, we're going to add a tag, and we're going to do something with that tag here in a second. And then we're going to try to book them on the call. And let's say once they're booked on the call, we're just going to stop responding. Now, I think GoHighLevel automatically adds an AI appointment booked tag. So I don't need to manually do that. And this stop responding node actually adds the AI off tag automatically. So I don't need to add the AI off tag. I don't think so. We're going to see here in a second. Now let's see what happens if they're not qualified. All we're really going to do if they're not qualified is we're just not going to add the tag, but we are still going to try to book them on the call, and then we will stop responding. Awesome. I think that's all we need. Now, I mentioned earlier that there were some real estate specific, there's an error saving my bot, I'm not sure why. We'll see here in a second. But there are some real estate specific nodes here, like verify address and get property details. This can probably be implemented into this bot to improve it. But again, I'm just going to keep it simple. This bot was working. I'm going to leave it as it is. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. See if there's an error saving the bot this time. Okay. It doesn't look like there's an error. And then I'm going to click publish. Let me make sure. We have our prompt. We have our job flow. Sweet. Let's go ahead and publish it. I don't know if that's going to work.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
Siri's going crazy. Sorry about that. All right. So here we go. And let's go ahead. And what I want to do now is go to sources. And let's come over here and search for the sub account, flipping home buyers. And you see we have two job flows. And the reason we have two job flows, I didn't mention this earlier, but in my migration, we actually had a bot that you see here, it's like published and drafted. Well, no, actually, that's the one I just created. This unpublished draft. This is the one that actually got migrated over, and I actually didn't even look at it. Let's pop into it real quick. I'm about to delete it, but if I pop into it, let's see what happened. Ooh, cool. So we missed some stuff. We had aggression detected, but you see here, it was actually quite simple. It was more simple. We didn't have the evaluation on whether it was qualified or not, and it went straight to booking, which would have worked as well. But let's go ahead and add this aggression detected. Just in case somebody gets aggressive with us, we can go ahead and delete that. So let's come over here back to agents. First thing I'm going to do is so I'm not tempted to use the old one. I'm just going to delete the old one. How about that? Let's go ahead and delete this job flow. Let's come back in here and then let's add our aggression detected. So if I scroll down here to scenarios, we have aggression detected, standard scenario. That one auto-filled, which is super nice. We'll leave that alone. And then I will add a contact tag, modify tags, and we will say AI off, add tag, AI off. So if the person gets aggressive at any point in the conversation, that will happen. So we're going to go ahead and save that and publish. I'm curious to see if I'm going to wait for all this to happen. I feel like this is a little excessive. Like there's just like a lot going on here. Not really sure. Like it's still saving bots. I'm not really sure what's happening here. Okay, let's go back to agents. Let's make sure we're like all greened up here. Home buyers. See, we have an unpublished draft. Not sure why that happens. Publish. Okay, now it says it's been published. Let's see. Let's see if that's actually true. There you go, published. It's green. All right. Probably would have been fine. It was an unpublished draft. There's probably really no changes, but the auto saving function is kind of wonky right now. If I come over here to sources now and I look for the sub account, you see now we have only one job flow connected. Now, what I want to do is over here for flipping home buyers, I'm just going to edit this source. And this is important to do. So before, like this stuff, whenever you add a new source, this stuff isn't automatically enabled. And so because this was a migrated one, it is. But I'm just going to go ahead and enable these. Graceful goodbye when goodbye is detected. Shut off on manual message. So if I manually respond to the lead or your client manually responds to the lead, then it will shut it off. It'll add the AI off tag. Then we have connected bots. It looks like flipping home buyers V2 is connected. We have some tags here. We saw this earlier whenever we were modifying the sources. And then you have variables. So remember we added that source variable called business information? Well, you would actually have to go in here and add the information here in order for that information to be populated in the prompt if you use that anywhere inside the prompt or anywhere inside the objectives. Now, I'm going to leave this empty here, but I showed you inside of the job flows where you create these variables and then you fill out the variables inside of the sources. It's kind of confusing. You kind of have to like hop around. I'm sure there's a reason why they did that, but I'm just not used to it yet. But I'm going to leave that empty. I just wanted to put that in there as an example. And then you have this neat thing called follow-up. So we can actually automatically follow up and follow up on a schedule. And so here, what I'll do is I'll follow up anytime Monday through Friday. And I wish I could copy these timestamps for every single one, but we can't yet. Actually, I'll do Monday through Saturday, and we'll follow up, let's say 9 to 7. So follow-ups will not be sent outside this window, but let's say somebody stops responding to an objective. The bot's going to automatically follow up on the schedule that we're about to set in this time, like in this time span. Now, it's not really clear. I bet it's using the contacts time zone, if I had to guess, but it doesn't really show it here. It's probably in the docs, but I'm not going to go over that right now. Let's go ahead and add a follow-up. So we're going to follow up. I'm going to be pretty aggressive here in this follow-up because these are high-value leads. So first follow-up after 30 minutes, then we're going to follow up after, let's say, 3 hours, and then we're going to follow up after 1 day, and then we're going to add another follow-up after 1 day. And then we're going to add another follow-up after 3 days, and then we'll call it quits. But don't sleep on these follow-ups. These follow-ups are actually very powerful, especially in real estate. You make all your money in the follow-up, right? So cool. We got that working. And at this point, I think we have everything connected. We have a persona. We have our persona connected to our job flow. We have our source attached. So we should have an active bot. And I'm going to test here in a second if that's actually the case. We can actually use the testing module here. See, it's showing we have unsaved changes, which is crazy. We don't have unsaved changes. But again, let's see. If I go ahead and click test and start a new session, You see we're connected. So if I just say hello, we should get some interaction here. All right. Hey there. Thanks for reaching out. Could I get the best email address so I can send you some information about our process? Interesting. It asks for the email first. Don't know if I love that. So if this happens, I probably break up these objectives. You remember how I stacked name, phone number, and email into one objective? I'd probably break that up if I want to know their name first. But let's just play the game right now, just because I want to make sure. I'm going to see how it reacts here just a little bit, and then I'm actually going to like submit a live lead so that we can actually see it work via SMS. Thanks. To keep things smoothly, can you please share your phone number? Sure. 910. All right, let me go ahead and send that. What's cool about this new testing engine, though, is that it shows you exactly what's going on, which is kind of nice. What's your last name? This is weird. I don't like the way this works right here with last name. So I'm going to make a change really fast. It's like, why is it asking for my last name first? It's just odd. Feedback for CloseBot here. V1 worked really well. I think they still have some things to work out here on V2. Great, thanks. Like, it only asked for my last name. It didn't ask for my first name at all. I wonder why. Maybe it's a nuance with the testing here. Like, maybe it attaches like a guest first name or something. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and go back here. I'm going to make some modifications to this agent because I don't like the way that that's behaving. And then we're just going to test it live. A lot of building bots is testing, is doing it and then making sure it has the behavior that you like. All right, so first thing we're gonna do here is ask for the full name. Let me just go ahead and copy from here. Get contact's full name. All right, and I'm gonna delete this line. Actually, let me save this objective first. Delete this line. Drag that over here. Drag that over here, and then I'm actually gonna come in here and remove full name. And then we just have email and phone number there. Sweet. Looks like it's saved. We're going to go ahead and publish that. And I'm curious. I'm actually just going to go to the test session one more time and see how it asks for that name before I submit a new lead. Because if I submit a new lead, I'm going to provide it with a full name. So let's see. Hey there. Just so I can address you properly, can you please share your last name? This is very weird. It's only asking. Oh, contact has already filled first name. That's weird. Very strange. Okay. Possible. Did it? Strange. I'm so curious why that's happening. I think that's why. So it adds the guest name. So I think that's what's happening. So the first name technically can't be tested, which is feedback. I think this testing engine should ignore the guest first name. So I'm going to leave it at that for the testing engine, but let's actually go ahead and submit a new lead. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pause the video and just delete some information just in case I have a lead in here. I want it to be able to interact. So let's go ahead and pause this. All right, so I went ahead and I just had a contact that was already in there that I wanted to delete. And so I'm just going to go ahead and submit a new lead here. I have a test account here that actually has an active phone number that can test. So I'm just going to copy this because that's what I'm going to use to submit the new lead. So we'll call this John Doe at 123 Main Street, Pineville, North Carolina. Fine. Phone number is going to be that phone number that I pasted, and email is going to be. And let's just go ahead and submit this lead. Awesome. So that lead has now been submitted. My funnel has a calendar here in case they book. Good to go. We never need to talk to them. But let's see if we actually get a text message from lead intake. That should work because we didn't modify any lead intake workflows. Let's see if code automation, bot, not bot. Lead intake. Did that work? Why didn't that work? Let me make sure this is the right funnel page. All right, so one of the reasons it didn't work is because we had this main funnel form that actually was using this bot override message, which relied on old, it it relied on old workflows to actually make that bot override message go out. And so now we just need to replace this with an SMS. And so I'm just going to come back over here to my bot override message inside of custom values. Again, if you didn't use a older version of bot, CloseBot, then this doesn't apply to you. I'm going to go ahead and copy that and come back into my workflow. Not that one. This one, main funnel form. And let's go here. So let's just replace this with an SMS. I like to send the first initial SMS to introduce myself. Hey, this is Alex from Flipping Home Buyers. Okay. Exclamation point can be a little intimidating. So we'll click save. And then we add a wait step here. I'm going to add like 0.1 seconds. 0.1 minutes, which is, I don't know how many seconds. And then we're going to send our initial message, which is our, I guess this would be our initial. The other one would be our intro. Why did that paste that way? I just need to get a few pieces of information so that our team can reach out regarding your offer. Is that okay? Okay, so this is going to be intro. We don't need the SMS word here. We'll click save. Awesome. And now we can delete this bot override message. And now when I fill out a main funnel form, we should be good to go. I forgot, actually, this brand, Flipping Home Buyers, I was running pure ads to. Flipping Fayetteville is the other brand that actually had the form on a WordPress site that triggered it. So I just enabled this workflow, and then now we should be working. Form submitted is main funnel form. Perfect. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and resubmit that, and let's see if it works. So I'm just going to refresh. Not now. John Doe, 23 Main Street, Pineville. Let's go ahead and copy and paste our phone number that we had here. All right. And email will be IO. All right, let's go ahead and submit that and see what happens. We should receive a text message here in a second. There you go. Hey, this is Alex from Flipping Home Buyers. Now, this isn't the bot yet. This is just a GoHighLevel automation. I just need to get a few pieces of information. Is that okay? So if I respond yes, the bot should actually respond. Interesting. So it looks like something else is, I have a tattoo bot attached. This is weird. That's weird behavior. Oh, it's because I have a bot attached to this as well. To my vet. I have a tattoo bot attached to this vet's wash houses here. So let me make sure that I actually delete this, because that's going to go inside of an infinite loop. Oh boy, let's delete this. Live, the joys of live testing. So I'm going to draft this workflow really fast. Make sure I have nothing else in here. Bot interactions turned off. Cool. Should be good. Shouldn't respond anymore. And just for good measure, what I'm going to do is add the AI off tag to this person. Yeah, you guys are seeing it all. So I'm going to actually restart that conversation, because I think that this is probably going to muddy up some of how it responds, because I had the bot responded to it. So let's go ahead and come into our contacts. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this contact. Awesome. Let me give that a second to delete. Do the same on this side in the Vets Watch Houses account, the test account we have here. I'm just going to delete that contact just so that we start from scratch. I guess the AI off tag's not going to matter here, but the AI shouldn't respond anymore because we don't have it connected. And just to be sure, let's see if I can delete any of these marketplace apps in this sub account. I might be stuck in the same situation as I was before, and I am. Okay, it still should be good. So let's go back here to conversations, make sure. Awesome, that's gone. All right, let's come back over here. Let's copy this phone number. and go back, refresh this screen. John Doe, let's go ahead and submit this lead. Testing, the joys of testing and development. You're gonna have to go through the same exact thing. I leave this stuff in here for a reason because it'll be you going through it, and it's pretty frustrating, and so you have to try to track things down. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the AI off tag here just in case there's anything connected. I don't want it to respond. All right, so just need to get a few pieces of information. Is that okay? I'm gonna give it a second just to see if anything responds here because we had a bot attached to this account. Okay, cool. It's not responding. So I'm going to just say yes. So now we should only have the flipping home buyers bot in play. So the bot already has our name, our email address, and our phone number. So it should go, and it has our street address. So it should go to like motivation or timeline. Hey, thanks. If you were to move forward with selling, do you have a preferred time of the year? Or you open it whenever the right offer comes along. I am looking to sell ASAP. Now, before I answer the next question, I am going to modify my goal checking workflow because the goal checking workflow is actually what determines if we have a qualified lead. And I want that to be triggered by the qualified tag because we made those modifications inside of our job flow in CloseBot. And we haven't yet published that workflow again. So before I answer this next question, thanks for sharing just so I understand the situation better. Is there anything particular motivating you to sell the property quickly? Cool. That's awesome. That's what I wanted it to ask. So if I come in here into automations, before I answer that next question, I'm going to come into goal checking and I'm going to add a trigger, which is tag added, name it qualified, tag added qualified. That's what's going to trigger this bot. And I'm going to delete this trigger here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move everything from down here to up here. And then I'm going to delete this action to clean it up a little bit. So we have state splits here because I was evaluating states here. I was running Facebook ads to this, and one of the questions I had was the state. So I was able to like cleanly do state splits. I think I'm going to remove that just for this example. So I'm going to move everything from here. And the reason I had state splits is I had two different partners. I had a North Carolina partner and a Georgia partner, and I would send notifications to certain people based on that. So I'm just going to move that up here. I'm going to delete this action. Cool. So now we don't need to add the tag qualified because we're doing that inside of the workflow. We're going to update the opportunity to qualified lead, and then the internal notification is just going to go to me. And it's going to provide all this information. Awesome. Sweet. Publish this and save. So now this should work. Thanks. Anything in particular? Yeah, we are being foreclosed on. Home is going to auction next week. So at this point, the bot should be in its evaluation stage, determining if the lead gave us the motivation and gave us their timeline, and it should tag it as qualified. So we're going to see if that actually happens. I'm going to wait for it to respond really fast, and then I'm going to go and check the contact and see if it marked it as a qualified lead. So if you come over here, let's go back. Let's go to contacts. Let's pop into our John Doe contact. See if it has a qualified tag. It does. It has a qualified tag. So that worked. Check my phone, make sure I got a notification. And I did get a notification. So pretty cool. All right, so we got that notification. Now it's trying to book an appointment. Thank you for letting me know the timing is crucial. Do you have a 15-minute call as early as 2 p.m.? Yeah, that works. Just giving it no friction right now. I want to make sure that it actually can book. So if I come in here, it looks like the opportunity was updated. Yeah, that works. We should get a booked appointment here in a second. New appointment created, 2 p.m. Thanks. You're scheduled for your offer call. Awesome. Sent out the email. Everything worked. Okay, cool. that was a little bit painful. This is the first one that I do live. This is the first one that I do with a little bit of advanced functionality, but I think it is important. Now, there's one thing that we didn't cover and that I said I would, and that is inside of automations, we were going to make it so that the follow-up, somebody gets removed from this follow-up sequence every time the AI answers. And so what I'm going to do here is if I'm going to turn that back on, so we have our follow-up sequences working as we expect. And if I come in here into contacts, go into John Doe, it looks like, let's see what, okay. So tags aren't automatically added. So in previous versions in Classic, when the AI responded, the AI responded tag would be added. And so I think I'm going to have to modify my bot to automatically do that. So let's see, AI responded. So I'm going to come back into our job flow, because what I want to do is when the AI responded tag is added, I want to remove them from the follow-up workflow, because CloseBot's now handling the follow-ups and I don't need them in that follow-up workflow or else they'll get dual messages. So let's go ahead and make that change really fast. Let's go to agents and pull up our agent. I'm going to test this off camera because it's already an hour in. All right, so buyers. So as soon as the bot initially responds, because right here, we can actually add it right here. Because if the bot, yeah, we can add it before the full name objective, because if the bot is actually activated and like moving on to the objective, then that means that the person responded. So we're going to come over here and we're going to say AI responded. Let's just copy that. Save. And we're actually going to fit that in right here. CloseBot, it'd be awesome if you guys had like a cleanup feature where you can just clean up the canvas and it automatically organizes everything. Probably super low on your priority list, but I think it would be a nice feature add to the UI. Okay, bot's been published. We're good to go. That should work. So now if I come into my workflow, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to add a new workflow from scratch. And I'm going to say stop follow-up. And it's going to be triggered by a tag, contact tag added, AI responded, filter tag added, AI responded. So that's going to trigger the workflow, and all we're going to do is remove a contact from a workflow, and that workflow is going to be another workflow, which is it follow-up? Yeah, no answer follow-up. That tool follow-up one day is disabled, so it no longer works. Save, and let's name that. Cool. Save that, publish, save. All right, good deal. I think that's all we need. I'm not going to test that. I'm pretty sure that's going to work. But that is the end here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this again with another real estate investment account, Flipping Home Buyers. That's actually where the new leads come in on is not Flipping Home Buyers, Flipping Fayetteville. And so that's actually a WordPress site. So the trigger is going to be a little bit different, but it really doesn't matter to you. The bot's going to respond the same. But in the next video, I'm going to go over that one. So you're going to get 2 real estate examples, 2 brands, do the same thing, Flipping Home Buyers, Flipping Fayetteville. One we drove traffic to, one has a WordPress website that's out there and gets organic leads, and we also used to drive traffic to that one as well. But hopefully that helps. I'm going to export this bot. As a matter of fact, I'll do it right now. Before I forget, let's see if I can figure out share agent. I'm going to copy this agent. I will put this inside of the school community post for this video so that you guys can watch this. Hopefully you find this helpful. In the future, we'll do that other real estate one. And then I'm also going to do some home service ones for some clients that we have. And if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, subscribe if you found this valuable. If you found it frustrating because I was hopping all around, hey, you can comment on that too. I get it. I'm learning just like you are. Have a good one. Peace.